You currently being concerned about restriction from your landlord, you like to fix some things in your apartment and your landlord is saying no, or you like to have a pet and your landlord is saying no, and feeling like, oh, I think I wish I can buy, versus you're currently buying and you're like, this mortgage is giving me stress, should I rent? This video today, I'll be analyzing the pro of buying versus renting so that you can know what to do in terms of your choice in should you continue to rent or should you take a decision to buy. So grab your notes. You are going to learn a lot from this video. Renting simply means paying somebody, usually the owner, a fee for the right to access an apartment, a building, a property, whatever you are renting, to have access and the right to be able to stay based on the terms and contracts that you're going to sign with him. That is what renting is. And the beautiful thing of renting is it takes away the responsibility of ownership away from you. So what are the cons of renting? Number one, lack of equity. When you're renting, every payment you are paying is going into the pocket of the landlord. There's nothing coming back to you in terms of stake. You have no ownership in the landlord. Once your rent expires, you are taking your loads, bye-bye. You can't say, oh, I used to be here 30 years ago, therefore I have some ownership stake. No, you can't. You don't have that in renting. That is the number one disadvantage of renting. So number two is no return on investment. So it's not just that you don't have any equity, because every time you are paying something, you are expecting something back. You are investing into another man's property, you are into another man's mortgage, but there's no return of any kind. Once your lease expires, the landlord has a right to say, thank you for the 1 year agreement we have. Sorry, I need my property for myself. So there's no form of return on investment. Number three, lack of control. He who plays the piper will always dictate the tunes. The landlords determine what you can do in this property. A landlord can decide that you can't bring in a guest after 9 p.m. And once it's in the contract, there's nothing you can do. A landlord can decide he doesn't want a pet in the house. Once it's in the agreement, there's nothing you can do about it. A landlord can decide, in my house, even though there's a big backyard where you could have a cookout, the landlord can decide, no, you can't have a party in my building. Once it's in the agreement, there's nothing you can do about it. So it is the landlord's prerogative to decide what and how the property should be. You don't have that. You are only limited to the agreement that you have in your lease. So one of the major problems is lack of control, lack of customization. What is home ownership? It simply means owning a home. Simple. Ownership of a home. And that's so simple. Ownership of a home. That's home ownership. The home is in your name. The title is in your name. The deed is in your name. You have the control of the property. The pro of buying. Number one, building equity. This is the most important reason for you to buy a house. Because when you buy a house, every payment you are making monthly towards the mortgage is giving you a stake in that property. One is the low upfront cost. In terms of when you're ready to rent an apartment, all you need to do is get the security deposits, get the first month payment, and possibly the agent fee. So say an example of the rent fee is $1,000. So you pay $1,000 for the first month, $1,000 as security deposit, and maybe another $1,000 as agent fee. So in total, you pay $3,000. The apartment is yours. So compared to if you want to buy a house, there's no way you pay $3,000 to be able to get an apartment. So you have a lower upfront cost. Then number two advantage of renting is that you have what is called a predictable expenses. In other words, once you pay your upfront cost, all you now need to do for that 1,000 scenario, you know that every month by the 31st or 25th, depending on the agreement you have on your lease, you get 1,000 ready for the landlord, apart from the utility. So in other words, you don't have the headache of the roof is broken, the pipe is broken, water, the sewer is not working. That is the headache of a landlord. As a renter, all you need to do, pay your rent fee, and you are good. So cost of buying. The major disadvantage of buying is the high upfront cost. Unlike renting, where you just have to pay like 3,000 if your rent is 1,000. For buying, you need closing costs. In this market, probably like 10, 15,000 closing costs alone. Then the down payment, depending on the kind of loan or mortgage arrangement that you're getting. For say an FHA, you'll be talking about 3.5% of say 500,000. At the end of the day, for you to get to the closing table, you may be needing something in the range of 25 to 50,000. Somebody will gonna ask me, where are you going to get the money from? So that is one of the main disadvantage of buying. Number 2 disadvantage is the pressure of paying your mortgage. The moment you own a house, from the following month, you are pressured. I must pay my mortgage. I must pay my mortgage. Unlike a renter, you can decide to say, oh, I can't afford the rent. I'm going to downgrade and get a cheaper apartment or move to something lower. But once you buy, you are locked into that house. You don't want to lose your house. So that creates some form of pressure. That's one big no-no in terms of buying a home. And number 3, unexpected repair. That is a big deal. Imagine Saturday evening, you are just trying to relax and you get a call. The pipe is busted. They need to fix it for something that is close to 5,000. Something happened. The shower is broken. You got to fix it. As an unexpected repair can come in. Unlike when you are renting, that is the headache of a landlord. So unexpected repair cost that is not budgeted for is usually the biggest cause of buying a property. And the last one is when you're ready to sell, it may not be easy to sell, especially when the market is a buyer's market. You have the asset, it's probably worth millions, but it may take some months before you are able to turn it to cash. That's one of the biggest cons of buying. So I've talked about the pro and the cons of buying versus selling. So what are the factors that can determine what should you choose? The number 1 factor is your income stability. You know what you are earning. If you are having a kind of contract job that may not be, that you can't predict the income, that could change, I will advise you rent until you have a stabilized income. So your income should be the number 1. Should you rent or should you buy? Because once you buy, that means your mortgage is fixed. Versus if you're renting, you decide to change. Income stability is the first factor that should determine if you're buying versus if you're renting. Number 2, the amount in savings. For you to buy, you need to start saving. And I usually advise, depending on the market, start to save anything upward of $15,000. So if you currently have $2,000 in your pocket, in your savings account, go rent. You're not ready to buy yet. Keep saving until you get to something above 15,000. That way you can comfortably work towards your down payment and your closing costs. Number 3 factor is your career goal. You're currently working in an organization that probably has spread all over the country, and the level of your ambition is probably become a manager who can move around from Dallas to California to New York to Boston. If you're in that kind of position, it means you have to rent. I'm sorry to say that to you, because if you need to be moving from state to state, that is going to be very challenging. So you need to consider your career goal, then family plan. If you have family around, you need to look at, should you buy versus rent, and how will it affect your family? And the last reason that will influence whether you should buy or rent is your desire for control. If you are the kind of person that likes to customize where you live, that have a taste of how it should be, that don't want the landlord to dictate what and how your apartment should be, I'm telling you, you must buy. So I'm going to give a scenario of I'm going to give a scenario of should you buy or versus should you rent. Scenario number 1, you are a young professional and your job determines you moving around. And I'll give you a very good example. My church is called Winners Chapel. Every of our full-time pastors are posted to different states every 2 years. Imagine that every 2 years or maximum 3 years, you'll be moved from one state to another. In such example, I will advise you, go and rent. So it depends on you. I'll still be talking about more examples, but if you're watching this video and you have a scenario that you want to share with the audience, want to share with me, should you rent or should you buy? Please write it in the comment section and I will respond to it. Scenario number 2, you're ready to stabilize. You have a family that is ready to stabilize. Once you love an area, you think is the best school, is the best neighborhood, go ahead and buy a property. You're already having a plan for 20, 30 years. You're already thinking about planting roots in the family, planting your family in the neighborhood. Go ahead and buy. Anyway, if you have a scenario or you agree or disagree with me, please put it in the comment section. So in summary, if you're currently renting, don't feel bad. It depends on your situation. Analyze it. Will renting favor you or do you need to pivot to buy? And again, if you're currently buying and the mortgage is putting enormous pressure on you, if your mortgage is putting enormous pressure on you, calm down, review it. Should you buy right now? Don't be under a pressure. Look at your scenario. If your income cannot afford the mortgage right now, based on your financial situation, maybe based on your career goal, and you currently own it, I'm telling you, there may be nothing wrong in you selling, going back to rent, and planning towards stabilizing towards when you will be able to properly own your property. If you like this video and you want to see more video about finance and real estate, click the share button, like it, and share with your friend.